All right, good morning, trade pros. Here we go. This is your morning market update for Tuesday, February 10th of 2026. Morning to everybody on YouTube and the trading room. Hopefully everyone's having a great day, great start to the morning. We're gonna have a great session, that is for sure. Let's get started with our morning market update. And here I am in all my ungroomed glory. Cannot wait for this new haircut that's about to be happening. Let's get started. So in today's market, we are looking at a little bit of kind of sideways action for both the S&P and Nasdaq and Russell. I'm kind of hovering at unchanged levels. We saw some pre-morning weakness going into some news reports, and then see the markets bounce back. We'll talk about that. Small bias heading into today. Really, we had some big data in the morning. We'll parse through that as well. Nikkei 225 hits fresh record highs near 58,000. You guys know why Japan's an important story. The Japanese yen continues to strengthen on some political stabilization, and really it's falling in favor with investors, and it's putting pressure on carry traders. So that's that. In the morning we had some key data points. 8:15 we had U.S. ADP employment change. The expectation was 7.75, and it came out at 6.5. So a bit of a miss there on the weekly numbers. And ADP is usually an important report because it comes out Tuesday. Well, typically actually comes out on Wednesday, and then non-farm payrolls come out on Friday. But because the partial government shutdown, as you guys know, going into the end of January, data got pushed out because the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, was one of the departments that was partially closed. Pardon me, they didn't have the time to put together this report. So the non-farm payrolls, all important jobs report is then scheduled for tomorrow morning at 8:30. Remember that. I know it's still going to catch a few people off guard. 8:30 in the morning tomorrow is going to be a big one. So the ADP is a precursor to that. And a lot of analysts and economists are expecting lower jobs numbers. But U.S. trade advisor Navarro says something really odd. He comes on the tape this morning and he says, we need to revise expectations on monthly job numbers. We're not expecting weak job numbers here. It's kind of odd. Is he trying to tell us something that should be illegal to say, or is this just overall? I don't know. It's confusing, and it's great that I don't have to. Thank God I'm not an economist, right? Or a portfolio manager of $1 billion book, because that job is harder. You think trading's hard? That's making sense of all of this on a macro level is crazy work. Retail sales also came out today for the month of December. Month over month is 0% is what it came out as versus 0.4. So no growth, lower than expected. The prior reading was zero point 0.6. All right. The low end of the estimate was negative 0.2%, but we came slightly higher than that, but way below the zero point 0.6 high end of the range. So if you put retail sales in perspective, that's a third month of declines in a row. Second month rather of declines in a row, and close to the bottom end of the range. It makes sense. January and February is kind of the months that you recover from Christmas spending and gifts. But yeah, retail sales are down this morning. Treasuries and bonds, the 10-year yield is down from 4.22 to 4.18. That's about 4 bips lower. And, this is actually a good thing to see during a rally in the equity markets for the prior day. So bonds are coming off a little bit on the yield. In precious metals, spot gold is down 0.3, but it's still holding above 5,000 per ounce. That's a key level. Silver, pretty modest pullback after Monday's strength, so we're seeing some downside there. And in the crypto space, Bitcoin down 0.4% to 69K, Ethereum down 0.6%, but holding above 2K. So that's where we're at. The big news this morning is out of Trump. Um, pardon me. Trump and Xi have a summit reportedly planned for first week of April. That's according to Politico as an outlet. White House says nothing is really finalized, but it kind of confirms it. It confirms there's some intention to meet. So expect some volatility there around the markets depending on what happens. Trump threatens Canada's bridge opening into the U.S. To be closed until they're fully compensated. So there's some escalation there with Canada. I feel, I'm moved from Canada to the U.S. And anyways, I don't want to get political, but I feel like both of those things impact me in two ways. Donald Trump also says growth could be 15% if Fed nominee Warsh does a comparable job. All right, and he also said doesn't know if Powell probe will be worth holding up. Warsh starting the role, and Powell, I believe, starts ends in July or in May, one of the two. So there will be a transition to a new Fed chair. He calls Powell incompetent. So if you read between the lines, he's basically telling Warsh, you two will be incompetent if you don't cut rates. Um, saw some really interesting institutional reports overnight. I don't know the bank. I think it might have been Barclays. I could confirm and tweet and let you guys know, but it doesn't matter. It was a big bank, an investment bank that said that Warsh would have a much lower put. A Fed put would be much lower than Powell, which should be a little worrisome for the market because the Fed put has supported the stock market since 2009. If you remove the Fed's participation and liquidity that they've provided since after TARP, the Troubled Asset Relief Program under Ben Bernanke, which I traded through, pure chaos. All right, if you remove all of the stimulus provided since that program was launched, and there's been extensions and new rounds of stimulus the whole time, the market would probably be half of what it's trading at now. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking S&P 3500. It's added to a lot of the upside. And so the Fed having this put, it's kind of like a running joke. The Powell put, I guess it would be the Warsh put now, is being pushed lower into the market, meaning he would allow the market to sell off and correct a lot more before taking action. That's the expectation. I thought it was an interesting piece because that's, if you look at Warsh, he isn't actually a dove. He's more hawkish. He wants less stimulus. That's his belief. It has been up until the point he becomes Fed chair. Is he going to pivot 180? That looks kind of weird as well. But his belief has been less stimulus, less support for the market and the stock market, and more Fed independence. And so for Trump to pick him and to expect rate cuts kind of sets the stage for another Powell 2.0 on my behalf. But anyways, we'll see what happens. That's a later on the year thing, not going to impact markets today, but the comments certainly do have some weight. All right. Something that will impact the market today is we have a couple Fed speakers. Fed's Moran, who's a voter and a dove, also retiring, said no significant tariff-driven inflation seen. Rates should be much lower. Obviously, a dove is going to say that. So pretty much a non-event. And that's kind of the news in the morning. Oh, also Donald Trump said he's going to carve out a pocket for tariffs for hyperscalers. So hyperscalers like Google, Meta, Microsoft are seeing some upside this morning and some excitement around the stock. So that's where we're at. Let's turn around. Let's look at the charts because the rest of the work is chart work and it's exciting stuff and we can get set for the day. I'll tell you the story of what happened yesterday overnight, and then that puts us in our trading plan, give you some gamma levels, and then we could start the day. We'll lead into the opening bell. All right, let me close the camera. Let me also cough. The mandatory cough in the mic and in your face has just happened. How about them apples, huh? Let's go share screen, advanced portion of screen. Here we go. Here we are. Good morning, Marco, William, Prashant, my brother. What's going on? Wearing my Leafs jersey today. I don't know why. The team is doing terrible. We're in Olympic break for hockey, but every time you see me wearing a green Leafs jersey, it means I was doing notes right up until the morning market update, and I just walked to the closet behind me and threw on a shirt. Literally, that's what it means. Didn't even have time to go back to my room to do a wardrobe. I just jumped into action. All right, the secret is out. All right, do you guys need to see my face for before this? Does it matter? Can I just talk and share a screen? Okay. Well, better than the Rangers. I know, percent. Just about anything's better than the Rangers this year. But the good news is the Rangers might go first. They might get McKenna. McKenna in a jersey. If he clears his charges, pretty wild there, right? McKenna will either be a first round top draft pick or in prison. Um, okay, great. Thank you guys for not needing the camera. Okay, so here's where we're at this morning. So in the morning market, or sorry, yesterday rather, let's start with the story overnight because it's an important story. The story yesterday is this. We opened at 69.35 half. All right, our flip zone was 24 quarter, and it kind of shocked a lot of the traders in our room when it worked so well. Right, we got off YouTube yesterday. We said that was the zone. It got into it pretty quick. Some traders caught it. I didn't. I didn't get it until later on in the trend extension. Some were here and here. All right. And I didn't hold it for very long, but the upside was pretty strong. And I could show you. I don't have anything to hide. Right. This is where I got a piece of it. It's exactly it. And I couldn't really run it up because we already had extended. But for me, it was a small day. It was a really small day, and I missed a couple really big order flow plays. But remember, it's not missed trades, it's gained information trades. I got the info and said, look, it's going to continue up. Let's try to get back on board. And then it did it without me. But nonetheless, caught a piece. Sometimes all I need is a piece. We had a quick sell off, then big rally off of our flip zone. We continued higher. The MBO showed really heavy upside liquidity for the day. And the narrative was, look, we just hit our support and our flip zone, stay long alongside the right side, liquidity's upside, try to get in on pullbacks. So team got long on some pullbacks. Some people had some really, really good trades that extended it a bit longer than I did, and multiple opportunities on the way up. But what happened was we extended all the way up to 7,050. If you guys remember yesterday's morning market update, we said 7,000 is a huge resistance for two reasons. One is it's a call wall. It's a big call wall for multiple option expiries, and also it's a big round number. And above 7,000, all rallies have failed 5 times in a row since January. So above 7,000, the air gets a little bit thinner for breathing for the bulls. And Bulls get back to recent memories of, hey, all these rallies have failed. We're back to this level. I wonder if, right? So 7,000 was a target for the day. Anything above 7,000 wasn't really going to be expected. It would have been a nice gift, and we didn't get it. Prior day high prints at 7,050. Okay, so pretty big extension upward. And then to close off the day, we sold off into the 69.81 to print the prior day cash close for the S&P 500. And the prior day cash close, not surprisingly, was the single largest volume node on the Delta profile. So where are we? 1.2 million traded in total on the ES yesterday. That's contracts, 1.2 million. It is the third declining day in a row of volume for the S&P 500 futures. That's a fun fact for you. And it's not a good thing. You don't want to see lower volume, but as you're rallying towards a high, here you could see, how do I get the volume? You type in ES volume and you go to CME and you can see, first, second, third decline. So we went from 1.8 to 1.2 million. So we've come off quite a bit on volume. You don't want to see volume coming down as the trend extends, but we're also going in a big level. Who the heck wants to buy 69.96 on 5,000 contracts? Not me. I'm selling there. So the daily range was 76.25 points on 1.2 million volume and a third decline in a row. So let's tell the story of the overnight session then. The overnight session is the ES push lower off the prior day cash close. We go down. Okay, we had set the low here until recently. I'll talk about that in a second. And then the immediate rally, the overnight high sets at 97 half, which is exactly 3 points below the prior day high. So in the overnight session, we couldn't exceed the prior day high of yesterday's session. That's why it's called prior day high, right? And so that right there tells you there wasn't enough gusto to get above 7,000. If the ES killed a 76.25 point rally yesterday right off of the 7,000 level, I didn't expect the overnight to go above it, to be honest with you. This is not surprising. It's not a shock, but it is still a data point. Overnight high is below the prior day high. Sellers then pushed the market lower this morning on some of the news, especially retail sales, to 69.70 half. That sets the overnight low. All right. Also, it's kind of in a little bit of a cluster here of buying Delta for yesterday's session. And then now we rebound. Okay. On the way up, NASDAQ leads the way. NASDAQ is getting way more relative gains than the ES so far this morning. All right. Where we're at now is the overnight range fully falls within the prior day range. So this is the overnight range here. This is ON, actually, overnight range. Pardon me. This is the prior day range with way down here, prior day low. So we are compressing and consolidating the top end of yesterday's move. It's important to tell you the story of how we got here for you to understand the scale of what it means. Okay, we are consolidating the bullish move. Is this a good thing? Yes, it is, because what would be the worst outcome? We race all the gains overnight. That's not a good look. So holding out towards the top end of the range, sub 7,000 level makes sense. It's gonna take some work to break the 7,000 and hold it, but then when we do break it, you're gonna have some dealer positioning that has to readjust quite drastically. So I think we'll have follow through, and I think gamma exposure will flip. Currently, it's positive gamma, but I think as we go above 7,000, we very quickly erode that, and we'll flip to negative gamma where dealers have to chase and continue to push the market higher. If we're gonna get this thing get to all-time highs today, we got to get the dealers to flip and start chasing the move, because I don't know who the heck wants to buy close to 7,000 and above, especially close to all-time highs going into the non-farm payrolls report that's tomorrow morning. I guarantee you today at some point, traders are going to realize, ah, crap, I'm long to the teeth, and there's non-farm payrolls tomorrow. I forgot about that. It was supposed to be Friday. Let me just liquidate some, which will turn into selling, right? So the overnight range is consolidating the top end of yesterday's move. Volume is 148,000. That's low. And that sets the stage for the trading plan today. So here's the trading plan. No trades today. Go to sleep. Go back to bed. Hit me up when you wake up. Prashant, that sounds like a Leafs thing. If the Leafs pick him, it'll be the worst prospect signing in history. They'll bury him in the minors. They'll develop him like crap, and he'll never see the light of NHL ice. That's my team too, bro. Um, horrible track record of developing prospects. Okay, so if anything, we'll move him to Boston, and then he'll go win a cup. Okay, here's the trading plan. We're moving the flip zone from 69.24 to 69.65/66. That's about a 40-point move higher. Anytime you're moving your flip zone higher, it's an admittance on your behalf that you're willing to pay up to join the trend. The admittance of willing to pay up converts directly to being more bullish, all right, or acceptance of the bull trend. So we can gray this zone out together now. It was a nice flip zone. It worked great. High five. We're only as good as today's trading results. So that's up 40 points. I want to start the day on trend and be long, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not super excited for long, especially right now. When the pullback was down here in the 74s, I was like, oh my gosh, let's just open already because I want to buy this thing. And I almost did pre-market. Um, but look, the flip zones here, this is going to be support. And I'm like, if we could get another one of those days where we open the flip zone and go, it would be great. But once you've seen something, it's less likely to occur. This is the thing about the markets. By the time you know the pattern, the opportunity is over. Ain't that the truth? So I'm not super excited to be long sub 7,000. I almost put the flip zone at 7,000, which is a weird place to put it because you're saying you want to buy when it breaks 7,000 and below there you want to sell it. But the only reason I didn't is I don't really want to sell this thing either. It's strong enough to not sell, but still weak enough that I don't want to buy it. And by weak, I mean, look, we got to get north of 7,000 to get excited for the long. I think if we break 7,000 and get some nice buy balances and curl back to some key supports, the takeoff trade is planned, right? The parade is on. Just like my Leafs, we'll plan the parade yet again. But sub 7,000, I'm bullish by extension of my flip zone being down here. I'm not too excited to get long sub 7,000. It's just one of those days. I got a feeling in my gut that it's going to get a little more volatile today. Yesterday was easy, and after an easy day, you usually get gifted with a second easy day. All right. We're getting compressed between the flip zone and the 7,000 key resistance. So we're going to obviously use price action to set up the trade. I put here a nice quote. The trend and price action is our truth, and order flow confirms it. How nice is that? Right? And so therefore I have to be bullish above the flip zone, and I will look for opportunities. But because I'm not excited with the level, I'm gonna save the big runners and the big trades for north of 7,000. Below here, I'm going to sneak a couple in and try to get out, get on base, try to make a run without getting my teeth kicked in. That's the plan for today. And anything more aggressive than that to the bull side, you're asking for trouble. All right. Sellers break it below 69.66, which is our flip zone, and things just crack wide open. Here's our long opportunities. I put 69.70, which I did this before I hit the 69.70. Here it is. Checked off. Done. So there's one trade off the opportunities. And then the 65, which is obviously a flip zone. So this was one area long, the second area long. Should have done something pre-market. I was just too busy doing analysis. Anywho, who cares? Targets up is 75, which we have already hit. All right, 82, which we have already also hit. 95, which we're chugging along to hit. And then the next one up is 7,000. And targets above 7,000, well, you just use your levels and take a look at it. 70-10 is one, 70-30 is the next. This shouldn't be a flip zone. It's just when I forgot the color code back to a normal level. That's what we're looking at. All right. Pardon me. My take is still this. Ross, you don't know that many people that watch hockey. Where do you live? I just know Prashant really well from his time in the room, and we love hockey a lot together. And so, once in a while, I'll throw a couple hockey things in there. They still have relevance. You could probably learn more about trading from watching a sport than anything else if you dive deep into the psychology. Uh, I learned more about trading from sports psychology than I did any trading book on this planet. Anywho, back to this. We'll wrap it up. I put in the notes too much bull is kind of baked in. There's lots of sell stops to run to the downside if we start to cycle lower. Um, I think break of the flip zone turns into a good short opportunity for now. I'm long. I'm cautiously long. And if we break 7,000 with some good order flow confirmation, it's going to be supportive to stay long and get into some bigger positioning. And I'd love to see how Gamma shapes up in real time around that. So I'll have to pull up my options chain on Interactive Brokers. All right, that's where we're at. Uh, you guys have Dallas there, bro. That's a great team. But obviously in Texas, every other sport is more popular than hockey. I understand. I get it. Hockey is nothing in comparison to football here in America. So, guys, that's it. That's the session for today. I hope you've got your questions answered. We're gonna go and do a little bit deeper chart work with the team in the room. Check us out, TradeProAcademy.com. It's the order for Vault. I'm gonna go work with the Vault members and answer some of their questions as well. Love you on YouTube. Have a great rest of your morning and day. I'm cautiously optimistic for today's session with my excitement increasing above 7,000, targeting 70-30 ultimately today before the all-time high. All right, that's the plan. You have the flip zone above 66, long, cautiously optimistic. Above 7,000, you get a little bit more optimistic. Below 66, look out below. You got a lot of sell stops that are about to trigger, especially because traders today are going to be tightening up risk heading into non-farm payrolls. So I think going into today with extreme bullish positioning, it's almost a given that you're going to be looking to sell at some point. If we could get through the morning on the bullish side, I think the sell will come out in the afternoon as people start to deleverage going into NFP tomorrow. All right, take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you a lot. That's all I got for today. Hopefully it was enough and you loved it. If you loved it, like, comment, share, subscribe. Take care. Love you.